Hi everyone, welcome to Adventures with Raven and Rowley. I'm Raven and this is Rowley. We're slowly converting a cargo trailer to a tiny home. Right now we live in a fifth wheel, full time. Last week I talked about the way I used my Jackery 240 on the last caravan I went on and the solar panels I chose. This week I will talk about how I came to actually living in various RVs and maybe answering the question, what's so bad about living in an RV? If you're curious, please join us on this journey and continue to watch. I've lived in all kinds of housing, apartments, at least 4 different kinds, and projects when I was a kid, 13 stories tall, with 8 apartments on each floor, and then there was 20 some odd buildings, a lot of people. I lived in brownstones, 2 or 3 family houses in Bronx, Brooklyn, wherever, in apartment blocks, usually 4 apartments per house, similar to what you would find in a condo. I've lived in houses by myself with the kids, one of which I built with the help of my daughters in the mountains of New York State on 5 acres. It was beautiful. It was cold. It was snowy, ski country, but it was beautiful. One of which, in one of the houses I lived in with the kids, is I modified and added bedrooms into the attic. I built a yurt. I didn't live in it, but I used it as a sanctuary, similar to what they now call she sheds. I could have built it to live in if necessary, or if I desired it, but at this point it was in my backyard, so. I've lived in double-wide manufactured homes. I had 3 bedrooms. It was 15, 16, 1,700 square feet, I forget. 3 bedrooms, living room, dining room, family and breakfast rooms. Really huge. 2 bathrooms. It was on an 1/8 of an acre lot, and I lived there for 15 years. So I know about living in a house. I've lived in a Class A RV. I drove that Class A 3,300 miles cross country from New Hampshire to Nevada. I took my time. It took me 2 weeks to drive it because I took my time, and I didn't drive a whole heck of a lot. I wanted to see things along the way, which we never really did, but it just drove from one Flying J to another, or Love's truck stops. I presently live in a 5th wheel RV. It's my current home, and I consider it's like a studio apartment. Well, no, it's like a 1-bedroom apartment because the bedroom is separate, the bathroom is separate, and all of the rest of the stuff, the living room, dining room area, and kitchen is all in one room. And I kind of like it. I mean, for one person, hey, this is really cool. So why did I leave all of that house, with the 3 bedrooms and all that kind of stuff? Why did I leave that and go RVing? Because that was the last house I lived in before I actually got into an RV. And it was a double-wide trailer. I don't know why they call them. If people look down on double-wides, I have no idea why, because they're gorgeous. They're made very well. They're just made in a factory instead of on your plot with 30, 40 guys potentially falling off the roof. Anyway, by the time I got to the end of the double-wide era, I was house rich. Beautiful house, beautiful lot, in a gorgeous park, and money poor. Couldn't afford it. Actually, what happened was when we bought the house, about 6 months later, 9/11 happened. The company that I was working for, or we were working for at the time, went out of business because all of his contacts were in the Twin Towers. So he was immediately bankrupt. So we were let go. At that point, I was over 60 years old and found out about age discrimination. And from that point till 65, I never had another full-time job. Couldn't get one. I mean, people would be happy to hire me temporarily, but temp jobs last 6 weeks and then you're off for a month. You know, your money is not secure. You don't know how to live. I was sick and tired of taking care of people in order to pay the taxes and the mortgage and the lot rent. I mean, that's all we were doing, was just paying. You know, couldn't afford anything else, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, could barely afford to eat, pretty much. I was just sick and tired of taking care of other people. We had a man who lived with us for 9 years. He had a mental disorder. He had a personal sanitation problem. And while he was living with us, he developed cancer and ended up with a colostomy. I was on call in my own home, taking care of him for 9 years, with him in one of the bedrooms. I was on call 24/7. Then my mom, we finally decided, okay, that's enough of that, especially with the colostomy. When he decided one day that he was just going to take everything out of the colostomy and put it all over the bathroom, all over the walls, everywhere, everywhere. Then my mom came to live with us for an additional 3 years after he left, about a week or so after he left. And before she passed, she lived in our house. She passed while living in that house, in that same bedroom, actually. So we came to, how are we going to pay for this house? I don't want to take in any more people. I don't, you know, the house is too much. There's only 2 of us living here. We've got 3 bedrooms, living room, dining room, family room, breakfast room. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it was expensive to heat. We were, after all, in New Hampshire, where it gets really, really cold. And we pretty much lived in only half of the house. You know, we paid for it for 15 years and decided, okay, that's enough. Spoke with the company. They weren't going to give us any breaks. So that was that. I chose not to continue paying for it and decided it was time to do something new. So trying to find out what new to do or how we were going to survive or anything, I came across cheaprvliving.com, and we were out the door in about 3 months after my mother passed in that house into a Class A RV that I drove 3,300 miles cross country. Had never done that before. Had never ever driven anything that big. We were towing a full-size car behind that RV. Had never done that before, but we did it. I found that after looking at cheap RV living that I could afford to live that way. We could afford to live that way. We could afford to do things, see things. You know, I was hungry to do something other than stay home and take care of people. There were no taxes involved. You know, no land taxes, no house taxes, no city taxes, no county taxes, nothing. No lot rent, unless I wanted to pay lot rent, which I do here. Chose to do that, what can I tell you? Gas was the most expensive thing, and at that time, I think it was like $1.50, $2 a gallon. Now it's getting close to $4. And if we needed to conserve gas, we could sit somewhere. Why not? We got everything that we need in the house. I mean, propane for heating, water. You know, we could get water. Had to move maybe to clean the tanks once every 2 weeks or once a week or whatever. I found that there are long-term visitors areas in California and Arizona where it's $180 for 7 months. Now, you don't have electric hookups and all that kind of stuff, but there's water available, there are pit toilets available so you can empty your tanks, all kinds of stuff. Or we could just go on BLM land and live for free, move every 14 days. So that's what the caravans do, the women's caravans, or any of the caravans. They move every 14 days to a different piece of BLM land 25 miles apart. Now, considering more than half of Nevada is BLM land, and the rest is probably national forest, you could do that. You could live for free on BLM land. Of course, you have to get your own water, take care of your sewer, you know, get to generate your own electricity, but I do that anyway. But when I drove cross country in that Class A, we came to this park. And we came to this park with the intention of staying for 30 days in order to establish residency, which is what Nevada required at that time. And then we were going to go and live on however. So I got stuck in this park. So that was about 4.5 years ago or so. And I've been here ever since. For 2 years I lived in that Class A, and the rest of the time I've been living in this fifth wheel, which is pretty cool. The Class A had 2 slides. Oh, it was nice. It had 2 slides, a bedroom, and one for the bedroom, and the other one was a long slide, probably 18-20 feet, and it had a dining room. The slide covered the dining room and the living room area and the couch, which is what this one does. This only has 1 slide. I have the couch and whatnot over there, and the dining area here, which is where I sit. It was really nice. It was 35 feet long. 35 feet plus the car. You know, I was driving down the roads good 50 feet. You know, if not more, you know, 60 feet, taking up 60 feet of space, and had never done that before. But the funny thing about that Class A, even though it had 2 slides, it still felt crowded to me. The ride across the country was scary. It ended up, because of the state, the condition of the Class A, it wasn't new. It was, I don't know, 20 years old or something of the sort when I bought it, 18 years old. While we were driving cross country, I ended up at the mechanic 3 times. We would be driving along, and then all of a sudden the motor would stop working. It would just quit. And here we are coasting along the highway, people zipping by at 80, 85, you know. The last place we went to, some little town. I wish I could remember what little town that was. I wish I could remember the guy's name and all that kind of stuff. But there was this young man there who decided that he was going to fix this RV. He was going to figure out what the heck was wrong with it and fix it. We found, after he finally took off the doghouse, that's the cover that fits over the engine on the inside of a Class A, in a gas Class A, because the diesel Class A's don't have a doghouse. After he took it off, we found out the air hose had disconnected, and it wasn't getting the correct air to gas ratio, and we went the rest of the way. But this young man, we got to the garage like 8 o'clock in the morning when they opened up. He let us go around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and finally figured out what it was. He drove it around town and tied up traffic and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure out what the heck was going on with it. And he only charged us for 2 hours. It was amazing. But that wasn't the amazing part. The amazing part was that he was determined he was going to fix that trailer, which was terrific. At one point, we found out that someone had cut off the exhaust pipe, and it exhausted right under the bed. Extremely dangerous. We didn't know. I mean, I didn't know. You know, as my first RV, I didn't know. I didn't even know what to look for. I thought it was in great condition. It was really in bad condition. But anyway, scary stuff. Let me tell you a story. The first night we were out, I had absolutely no idea where we were going to stop for the night. I figured, oh, there must be places, you know. I didn't know about truck stops. I figured rest areas, and then come to find out you can only stay in a rest area. In those rest areas that were around us about 4 hours, so that wasn't going to work. So I came across a RV sales place, distributor. And so I went inside and I said, look, you know, we're exhausted. Can we sleep in your park in your back lot somewhere, you know, out of the way, and we'll be gone in the morning before you open? So the guy said, sure, go right ahead. That's terrific. I said, oh, wow, that's fabulous, you know. So I moved the trailer, towing the car into this guy's back lot. But not knowing how to back up and all that kind of stuff, I kind of circled around and faced the entrance or the exit of the lot. Well, what I didn't realize is that that was a turnaround place for semis. A lot of semis come in there and would sleep at night and whatnot. And I was blocking the entrance. But anyway, so here we was. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, the rig is shaking. It's going like shaking. Which, put me into serious panic. This is the first night out, right? And we got a knock, you know, the traditional knock. Not from the cops or anything, but this guy out there shaking. Well, it turns out, you know, I go and I lift up the curtain over the steering wheel in the front to try and see out the window what the heck is going on. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, I'm not going to open the door. And there's this guy out there, and he's got his hands on my rear view mirror, and he's shaking it. I said, what the hell are you doing? You know, and he says, oh, I thought that it collapsed. I'm trying to get my semi to go by, and I'm looking out the window. The semi is like this close to the window, you know. Actually, it wasn't that close, but that's what it looked like. And he said, I thought that it would fold in, and if it could fold in, then I could just squeak right on by, but I was afraid that I'm going to damage your rig and that kind of stuff. I said, oh, okay. So I go out and I talk to the guy, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And turned out he was really nice and all of that. And I just moved over, drove it over a little bit so he could get by. But it was scary. And that was the first night. There were nights that we just didn't know where to stay. I couldn't find a place, didn't have anything. I stopped in and slept in sales lots, car sales lots, dealerships. Got there after they closed, left before they they woke up, before they opened in the morning, that kind of stuff. And then slowly we found out about truck stops, you know, and so pretty much stayed in Flying J's, loved them. The food though, after a while you get saturated with fat, too much fried foods and that kind of stuff, spaghetti, you know. But anyway, so for the fifth wheel, I've lived in this fifth wheel a little over 2 years. It feels spacious, even though it's 9 feet shorter than the Class A I had. The Class A was 35 feet, and this is 26 feet. This has only one slide. It has just the dining and living area, the couch, the dining area. And it feels like a one-bedroom apartment. It's spacious, it's airy. It might be because the ceiling is a lot higher in a fifth wheel than it is in a Class A. So I think it's the height of the ceiling that makes it feel so much larger. But people have said to me, people saying that it's sad that I have to live in an RV. Oh, it's a terrible thing, you know. They say people say they are poorly made and downright dangerous. I mean, that they don't protect you in the winter, you freeze in the winter, you boil in the summer, they're not insulated well, all that kind of crap. It's crap. I get the feeling they think it's a shame that anyone would have to live in an RV. But I chose to live here. I have no problems heating this place or keeping it cool. The insulation is fine. It's actually cost me a lot less to live here than it did in any house or apartment I've been in. As far as I'm concerned, it's an apartment that I own. I mean, that's what a condo is, isn't it? An apartment that you own. And it's pretty much soundproof too. I do not hear my neighbors unless they're sitting right there and they turn on their motorcycle. And that's noisy because I'm not used to it, but it's not disruptive. The difference between all of these modes of living is that there's a difference in maintenance. I mean, pretty much. As for the price of living in one and the rent, my lot rent includes, listen to this now, my lot rent includes Wi-Fi, electric, water, sewer, and storage, and all of it is for under $500 a month. The average place in this area, and I live in a 5-star resort, this place, $500 is about average for this area. Most of them I think are around $600, but $600 you can get your Wi-Fi, your electric, your water, your sewer, storage, everything, including a pool, and dinners a couple of nights a week for like $6. I'm within walking distance of downtown. I could literally walk to Walmart. I mean, where are you going to find a place like that, right? I bought this trailer. It was in pretty sad condition. I was desperate, but it was still it was livable. It didn't have any indications that the roof leaked or anything like that. I bought it for $5,000, and I've got one more repair to do to this trailer. Somebody stole the battery out of it, and they cut the lines to the hydraulic motor that moves the slide. So the slide has to be pushed in and pushed out manually until I get that fixed. But that's the last thing I have to get fixed. And I don't suspect that we're talking $5,000 to get it fixed, you know. Where can you buy a house for that kind of money? Where can you find a place that is secure, that is easy to heat, easy to run, easy to maintain for $5,000? It came with a working propane stove and oven, refrigerator and freezer. The air conditioner works. The furnace works. The electricity and water lines work. The roof doesn't leak. But I decided last summer, just because I had it recoated, and it cost me $75 to refinish my roof. My house roof would have cost $5,000, if not more, to redo. And my roof is guaranteed for the next 10 years, which will probably outlive this building, maybe. Who knows? I've seen RVs that cost upwards of $2 million. Now tell me, how bad could that be? This one was 21 years old when I purchased it. It was new in 1998. It was above $25,000, which comes to about $42,500 now. So if I had bought it new, I would have paid over almost $50,000, well, over $50,000 with taxes, you know, for this rig that I got for $5,000. Now, how bad could it be? Really? I put a link to rvtrader.com, I believe it is, below, so that you can see what you could buy brand new right now for $42,500 and go live someplace to spend $500 a month. My 26-footer is 288.5 square feet, approximately. That's about the same size as a tiny house, and about the same cost as a tiny, well, it wouldn't be $5,000. It'd be about $40-some-odd thousand now. And, of course, tiny houses go for how much ever it is you want to spend, you know. The thing is that an RV has the RVIA certification. You can park it anywhere that you're allowed to park your RVs, period. You can't do that with a tiny house. It's really, really difficult to find a place to live in a tiny house. I mean, I could be driving down the road, towing this down the road, and stop at a rest stop, you know, that allows overnight parking, and sleep in it overnight. You can't do that with a tiny house. I've never seen any tiny house parked on the side of the road, ever. Tiny houses are restricted as to where they can park. And they have problems with insurance, etc. The thing about an RV is that the build is regulated. With a tiny house, to tell you the honest truth, I wish I knew about RVs before I bought my first sticks and bricks home. Seriously, I would have done that in a heartbeat. It stresses me out, or it bewilders me, or just plays with my mind to think about how much rent and taxes I paid to live over these last 50 years, just to live. So don't feel sorry for me. Do not feel sorry for me for living in an RV. I love it, okay? You might look into it for yourself and save some of your dimes for where you want to go, how you want to play, okay? The Rowley Report. The Rowley Report. Rowley. I don't know what happened to him. He's probably out on the bed looking out the window. Rowley's doing good. He really is. I don't have anything to say about anything about it. I mean, he's being a good dog, you know. He's being loving, and he's still making and still being an excellent hot water bottle at night, except that he does take up a lot of the bed, you know. He sleeps in the exact center of the bed. I was thinking, you know, if I got a king-size bed, which would take up my entire bedroom. I mean, that's about how big my bedroom is, maybe a little bit bigger. But he would probably sleep in the middle of the bed. And I'd still, or maybe even, you know, like push me off the edge. So, I don't know. But he's a good boy. He's a good dog. He's a really good dog. Love him a lot. So, thanks for watching and subscribing, and thanks for your support. If you'd like to help us get on the road and stay on the road, see the links below. I expect to be going down to the WRTR and the RTR in Quartzsite, Arizona in January. So if you're down there, you happen to see me, say hi, okay? Please share my video and subscribe to Adventures with Raven and Rowley, which reminds me, I've just changed the name to RV Adventures with Raven and Rowley. Also, booping the like button, you know, boop, and ringing the notification bell would be good too. See you next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Take care of you and yours, and blessed be.